Black Lives Matter. And it doesn't matter if you agree. You see, I'd be willing to bet all that I had to say that those that are mad are the same ones that would have been yelling at Ruby Bridges, chanting, "Keep the niggas out of our schools." The same fools would be yelling at the crucifixion of Christ because his life wouldn't have mattered because of the color of his skin. The world we are in isn't much different than that 2,000 years ago, so you're only fooling yourselves if you think otherwise. You don't care whose lives are affected as long as the hate isn't directed at you, and you have the nerve to say things like, "Make America great again." But tell me again, when was America great? Was it the 400 years of slavery? No, I bet it was when we decided that women could vote, but take note that that was only 100 years ago, though, so wait, I know. It was when, only 65 years ago, a 14-year-old Emmett Till was brutally murdered for supposedly whistling at a white woman. Or maybe America was great when we passed the Civil Rights Act. But in fact, that wasn't passed without people being gassed and beaten for protesting the death of MLK, who, by the way, protested peacefully and was still murdered. So when was America great? Was it when we elected our first Black president? No, it was evident that you hated him from the beginning. Him winning the election was overshadowed by being turned into a terrorist over a fist pump that he gave his wife. His life was under constant scrutiny because you refused to see past the color of his skin. Considered it a win when an openly racist, misogynistic man ran to be president. It was evident that it didn't matter that he was caught on tape talking about rape. It didn't matter that he made fun of people who were disabled and openly mocked a prisoner of war. So what is it exactly that you stand for? It's okay to make fun of a veteran, but you're uncomfortable when people kneel during the national anthem. Have the nerve to say that people should protest peacefully and that these are not protests and that they're riots. You want people to be quiet so that you can be comfortable. Uncomfortable by the perceived disrespect made by someone who refuses to stand while the band plays a song claiming that we are all in the land of the free. Well, let me tell you why we take a knee. You see, George Floyd wasn't comfortable or free when he was killed by a man kneeling on his neck. That's why we kneel. Eric Garner couldn't breathe, but you still believe that racism doesn't exist. That's why we kneel. Trayvon Martin's mother sent her son to the store and ended up burying her baby because maybe those Skittles and iced tea were guns. Michael Brown had his hands up and still got shot. The thought of watching your child bleed out for hours on the street while you weep, knowing that there will be no justice, is unbearable. That's why we kneel. Sandra Bland didn't understand that a man in a uniform could turn a traffic stop into a supposed suicide, and every mother cried when Tamir Rice was killed for being a 12-year-old boy playing with a toy gun in a park, and no, it wasn't dark. They shot that baby in broad daylight. We kneel because Philando Castile was shot after attempting to get his license and registration that the officer asked for. His poor daughter sitting in the back seat watching it all unfold, but we're told that this is the land of the free. Equality is a lie. You don't believe me? Why don't you try talking to the people who saw a man murdered on live TV, but were still able to be ignorant enough to say, but you don't know the whole story. Or when the media covers a story of a white perp and speaks to the fact that he had an underlying mental illness, but let it be a Black man. Then you can turn on the news to hear about he had a prior record. Or if it was a Black victim, you get to hear how they found weed or he had prior convictions, as though that excuses the fact that their life was taken. So you are mistaken if you think that this is the land of the free. You see, it doesn't take much to see that the justice system is broken. This spoken word is just a glimpse into all that is wrong. But am I wrong? See for yourself. Brock Turner raped an unconscious woman and was given a slap on the wrist because this was just a mistake. So why take away his freedom? Meanwhile, a Black teen with no priors was given 10 years in prison for stealing a pair of shoes, but still people refuse to see the injustice because it's just us who are affected. Neglected and disrespected, and it's blatant. Anytime a white female has escaped a situation after being abused, she is hailed as a courageous person and she is on the news. But what about Centoya Brown, who was found to have escaped her abuser? They accused her and sentenced her to life in prison. Or Crystal Kaiser. She courageously stood up to her abuser before escaping, but no one cared about the life that she had ahead of her. George Zimmerman murdered a teen, but served no time. But at the same time, in the same state, a woman fired a warning shot at her abusive husband and was sent to prison. I guess the stand your ground law only applies to certain folks who look a certain way. And don't ever say that you didn't know, because you're just being willfully ignorant. And another thing, when you sing about being in the land of the free and the home of the brave, don't forget all the Black and brown folks are in their grave because people felt like they could be the judge and the jury. If you're not furious, you're not paying attention. And let me just mention white privilege. No one is saying that having privilege means your life isn't hard, but what we're saying is your life isn't hard because of the color of your skin. This world we are living in is broken. Make your voice heard.